So, Gillian, welcome. You are officially guest number 2 on Give It a Nudge. I'm very excited to have you here, and just to give the audience some context, Gillian and I have known each other for I don't know, actually 8 years, maybe something like that. We met when you were COO at SafetyCulture.
Yes.
And I was in my previous business, and we've kept in touch ever since. And obviously, you're in a new role now, which we're going to talk about. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about what Vamp is and who you are, just quickly?
Sure. So I am Vamp's CEO. I've been there for close to 18 months. I actually did a few months with Vamp before I officially started with them, but I can tell you about that later.
Yep.
Vamp is a content and influencer marketing business. So the Vamp platform connects brands and creators to make amazing mobile content. So the content that we generate just produces a return on ad spend not seen before. So it's pretty exciting.
Awesome. We should probably talk actually about that ourselves. I never thought about that. But as you know, Give It a Nudge and the Nudge Group, we're a recruitment business, but we are all about stories, and I genuinely believe that if you want to attract the right people to your business, you need to know your story, and you need to be able to convey your story to people out there. So what I would love to hear from you is, what is Vamp's story in terms of, you know, how you came to be in there, where it's sort of come from and the idea maybe first came from, and ideally where you're planning on going sort of right now at this very active moment.
So I left SafetyCulture, where we met, after 4 years as COO. So that was a pretty awesome adventure. We went from 30 people to 300 people.
Clever ride.
Yes. And the revenue skyrocketed. So I'm super proud to be part of, you know, one of Australia's unicorns. So recently valued at 1.3 million. So after leaving SafetyCulture, you know, it's a tough act to follow. But I was introduced to so many amazing founders and startups in Sydney, and I had the pick of a number of roles, and I met Aaron and Ben, who are the 2 founders of Vamp, and we met and laughed a lot. And you know me, and those other people who know me know that that's really important to me. So being able to absolutely authentically and genuinely get on with the people that you work with is really, really important.
We had a coffee when you were interviewing all over the place, and you were just saying some of them they just make you laugh.
Yeah, some of them you just click with, and some businesses are wonderful businesses, but just not wonderful for you.
Yep.
So you have to know what's going to be wonderful for you. I still wasn't super sure, but the boys invited me to the Facebook Marketing Partner Conference in Singapore. So we flew up to Singapore, and that's where I really began to understand their business model, which is all about generating mobile and social content that fuels mobile e-commerce. So mobile e-commerce is obviously growing and growing and growing, and the fuel of mobile e-commerce is the content that is generated. So what I learned during that time in Singapore was that the creators generating this content didn't need to be big advertising agencies. They could be individual creators based anywhere in the world, creating amazing content that was social first content, and this social first content just fueled revenue for brands all over the world. So it was just an exciting new world for me, completely different from SafetyCulture. I don't have a marketing background, but I knew that with 2 founders who believed in their business and had grown it really amazingly, you know, doubling revenue year on year for 4 years, they wanted me to be part of it, and I thought I could contribute. So at the end of that Singapore trip, we were still laughing, and so I took the job.
And what do you think? Why do you think they wanted a CEO at that stage? What were they looking for?
They said to me they'd been looking for a CEO for years and years. They obviously hadn't met you, Steve. Neither of them had scaled a business before.
Right.
So obviously my experience, previous experience in corporates and other startups of scaling and growing businesses. I've got a finance background. Neither of them do, and so it was just like a fit in the jigsaw puzzle. You know, one of them was really strong on product. Ben, He's now CPO. Aaron, who's really customer focused and focused on the sales side, he's Chief Commercial Officer, and I kind of fit the bit that's missing between the two of them.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you think about where we're at in the world today, obviously e-commerce exploded, social media exploded, mobile exploded. So it's a very, I guess, exciting place to be.
Yeah.
From Vamp's point of view, how does it work, and where are you going with it? Because it's changing so fast at the moment, and COVID is again just thrown in another curveball, I guess. So where are you? You know, if you're talking to someone about what Vamp's going to do, what would you say?
So the boys brought me in as CEO to do one main thing. That was to take the technology that had enabled the business to grow over the 4 years that they'd been running an influencer marketing agency, and take that technology and take it to the world and
Right.
go to market with it. So basically become a technology business as opposed to an agency that was technology enabled.
Cool.
So that's what we're doing now. So we launched the Vamp platform in April. So now any brand and any business, any agency and brand of any size can use the Vamp platform and get access to our network of creators and start to generate content for any purposes, for their social purposes, for e-commerce purposes, for their website. We can then reformat that content into any ad format, push media behind it, and get them amazing results.
Wow. So you've gone from agency taking briefs to enabling people to do their own
Yes.
marketing, essentially,
Yes.
which is how you scale a business. So one would say you're well on the way.
Yes.
So tell me, you and I both know scaling businesses, as we've both done it, is very difficult, and there's a lot of roadblocks that come up. Let's talk about Vamp specifically in the last 18 months, other than perhaps maybe your lack of knowledge of the industry. What's been the hardest thing? Because a lot of people always talk about, oh, this is what I did and it was amazing, and this is what I did was amazing. What was the hardest thing that you found that maybe you didn't expect as well?
I think I never was looking for a CEO job. I'd been a COO, and the COO role felt comfortable to me.
Yep.
So the hardest thing going to Vamp was taking that CEO role, which was hard, because then it's on you. There's obviously the founders, but you are at the top, and so you are fully responsible for
I've heard you
the
say that
business.
before.
Yeah.
So, and how was that?
Scary.
Yeah.
A lot of responsibility.
Yep.
And that responsibility came really quickly, because I now have 50 people who are relying on me for work and their families and their life, and that's a big deal. And so coming into Vamp, one of my first roles as CEO was to find funding, and the right funding for the business.
Yep.
So finding funding isn't too hard. Finding the right funding is hard. And especially when you're burning cash as a startup and you've only got a finite bank balance there. So it's finding the right funding and then finding it pretty fast. So the first 6 months was a lot of shopping Vamp around and meeting a lot of different types of investors and ensuring that we had the fundamentals right before I then went on to scale the business.
Yeah.
So we actually, one of the first things I did go in and do is cut the burn, leaned up the business, looked at the unit economics, and made sure that we had a sustainable business for the funding coming in. So then when the funding did come in, we could start to scale sensibly.
And was that quite different from when you would have done that at SafetyCulture to a degree, but SafetyCulture seemed to get funding incredibly easily. And Vamp's like you said, the investors from there probably weren't necessarily the right investors for over there. So was that one of the difficulties that you found?
Yeah, getting funding for SaaS that's growing, between 6 and 8% month on month.
Yep.
Is difficult compared to an agency that had been growing, doubling in revenue year on year, but the lack of that SaaS track record was made it much harder. So now now that we've got a platform in market and we do have returning revenue, it's a different proposition. But back when I started 18 months ago, the business had no recurring revenue.
Yep.
It was basically a service business. So you get different multiples, you get different, valuations.
Bad ones. Right? Bad multiples,
Low.
bad valuations.
When we were at SafetyCulture, the multiples were ridiculous. When I was at Vamp, they were, you can count them in one finger.
So what did you learn? What did you learn during, because it must be weird. I mean, you can liken it to a lot of things, but if you think you know how to do something and then you go and do it and it's completely different, what did that teach you?
It taught me, though, that no matter how hard it is, you have to stick with what you're trying to achieve.
Yep.
And it would have been so easy at any point in time to just go with funding that maybe wasn't right for the business because it was there and available. But knowing that that would come back to bite us very, very quickly, that was a lesson learned. I needed the support of the team around me, the two founders, to stick with the hard yards and go and find the right funding for the business.
I think that's a massive learning. If you think about my clients and my audience, gosh, everyone's after funding. And I guess it would be very tempting to take money when you need it if it's there. So that's amazing. That's really good.
It was hard. I'm sure I made a few enemies in the market, but maybe not enemies, but it was definitely not straightforward.
No, I'll bet. Well, the fact that you've got it and you've done it and you're happy with where you are right now is obviously the most important thing. So one of the questions I ask everyone, and I have briefed you before, but it is a really, really difficult question. I actually haven't even asked myself this question. I should probably do that. But I'd like you to think about, and this could have been any time. It doesn't have to be now or during Vamp years, although it probably will be. But tell me about a belief that you had that changed and why it changed. Because most people's beliefs are core, and you can hear 1,000 people talk about it. Your beliefs are within you, and a lot of people don't even understand what their beliefs are. Entrepreneurs tend to. And it was interesting, actually, one of the things you said as a CEO, which I often hear, and it's fascinating because I don't think anyone who's not in a CEO role or a founder role or something like that understands, is the weight that you feel of responsibility for people and their extended families.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone who's ever not been in that role can understand what that feels like. And I only bring it up because you're the third person that said it to me today, and I think that's quite poignant. And I know I've always felt it, but I don't think it's something that people understand. So, but anyway, back to the question. Beliefs, yeah. Tell me something that perhaps and why maybe you changed as well.
This one for me is quite straightforward. And I'm now at the age and the experience where I could say I was wrong, but I was. I have never worked a day from home before COVID.
Ever?
Ever.
Not one? Not even when you were feeling a little off after the staff party? Something?
No.
Launch party? Nothing?
No. Play
That's
hard,
hardcore.
work hard, pitch up. And at SafetyCulture, I know we weren't super open to flexible working and people working from home.
Yep.
I personally, I just want to talk for me. I thought that it was really hard scaling a business at the speed that we were going, and then adding on top of that, some people not being in the office, some people being in the office. Having that flexibility, I thought was just going to compound how hard it was.
Yep.
Cut to April, and where working from home was, mandatory.
And you just launched your platform as well at the same time, right? So
Yeah.
not a stressful time at all.
Not a stressful time. So the thought of everyone working from home scared me a lot, having never been a big believer
Yep.
in working from home. Today, I can say it's been life-changing for me.
Wow.
Personally, I think spending that time with my family is incredible. I've always been one who's on flights, staying in hotels, working all hours, evenings, and just thought that's what you had to do to run a successful business.
Yep.
But it's not. It's absolutely not. And I was definitely wrong. And what I've seen with the people at SafetyCulture is the strength but vulnerability that they have has resulted in revenue that's the highest that we've seen the last 2 quarters during COVID. It's the highest Vamp's ever seen. The product that we've shipped is the best feature set I've seen from the team, and they ship so regularly, and what they're shipping is just incredible, and the customers are loving it, and the internal teams are loving it. And what we're seeing our creators create in terms of content is some of the best content I've ever seen as well.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So do you think that...
I'm a believer.
You're a believer. Do you think that you'll always have that element of balance now going forwards?
Without
And I guess another question on that, and it's awesome that you do. You mentioned earlier, and you can listen to 1,000 podcasts and read 1,000 books that tell you about the hustle and about the years where you do have to work all hours and get on planes and be in hotels and do all those sorts of things. And you're now saying that you don't necessarily. I guess, does that mean that you still have to do the work, but you can do it in a different way at different times that suit you, rather than it dictates? Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah. I mean, it's still a lot of work, and I still work like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday evenings. I do work. We have a team in London. We have a team in the Middle East and a team in London, and so I tend to work late to spend time with them, because it's really important.
Yep.
Because they're not together, that we pull together as a global company. So we're definitely spending more time. The Australian team is spending more time with the UK team, that's spending more time with the APAC team. So I think we're working more global as a business now, because we're working remotely as well, which benefits everyone in the business. But I think this is the new norm. You can still hustle, but you can hustle from home.
Yeah, and it's interesting you do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think that might be something I should really look at. I tend to do it lots of days. I never do Friday. That's my one rule.
No way.
I do often do most other nights. We are just about to open in London next week, so I think it's only going to get worse. But that's I like that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I was thinking I need to sometimes not work of an evening. That's good. I like that idea.
Yeah, you can have a wine on a Thursday instead.
You can still have a wine and do a bit of work. You can, my job. Okay, so I'll just touch on COVID a little, because I think we have to, right? Obviously, we've 6 months in. It's not as scary perhaps as it was, in that we understand it better, and I think that's probably what causes most of the scariness about something, is when we don't understand it. It's impacted Vamp without question, as it's impacted anyone. Would you say it's been positive? Because a lot of the people I've spoken to feel that, and I think maybe it's the space that we're in terms of its technology and remote and online and e-commerce. Do you think it's been a positive thing for Vamp as a business?
I think there's been good things and less good things about COVID. I think it was very scary at the beginning.
It was.
What made it less scary for Vamp was very early in March, we made the call for everyone to work from home globally. We also made some decisions around looking at our business model, looking at our cash, looking at our runway, looking at our burn rate, and making decisions that made it less scary going into the unknown.
Yep.
So we cut our OPEX base by about 30%, by just looking at every single cost line and being really, really prudent about it, because that made me, as a CEO, feel more in control about going into something that we didn't know. Well, we didn't know where it was going to go at all. So that was the bad, but the good was you were in control of it. We definitely saw impacts from a lot of verticals. Travel, entertainment got hit hard. Other verticals that we work with, retail, e-commerce, telco, technology, were impacted in some aspects, but a lot of spend went up, because marketing spend got shifted from other distribution channels into social. Yep. Because the increase in eyeballs on social went through the roof. So we actually saw lots of opportunity coming our way, because businesses wanted to market on social, and so we had lots of big new clients came to Vamp as well. So because we were able to manage large budgets at scale in this space, so we were doing $1 million campaigns for some of our clients, which we hadn't really seen before.
It's awesome.
Which was awesome, and it was a super fast learning curve for our teams, because we had to we'd never put millions of dollars through the platform before at once. So the platform stood up amazingly well. The creators just, it was outstanding. We had to run a huge campaign in Europe in April, in Italy, France, Germany and Spain during complete lockdown for them. They had to create some content.
In different languages?
Yep.
Oh, well, yeah.
For a new mobile phone. New mobile phones that were being released. And the content that we saw coming out of Germany and France and Spain during lockdown was incredible. What people can do, the power of people when they have constrained resources was just amazing. Some of the best content I've seen.
That's fascinating, isn't it? That's really fascinating. All right, let's talk a little bit more about you. In terms of self-improvement, most CEOs, founders want to do it, struggle to find time to do it in the car, do it where they can. And I mention this on every episode. I don't love this question because it sits in a lot of other podcasts, but I'm going to put it in because I think people actually genuinely get something out of it that they can take away and look at. Tell me what you're reading. Or what is your favourite book? Either. It doesn't have to be, because you might be reading a terrible book. Someone said that to me the other day. They said, I'm reading this, but I don't want to tell anyone because it's awful. So it's either your favourite book or what you're reading, and what podcast, other than Give It a Nudge, that you do listen to when you get a chance.
Okay. Can I start on the podcast?
Of course.
I'll give you categories of podcasts.
So you listen to a few then?
I think you could spend your whole day, couldn't you?
You
There's
could.
so much amazing content
Particularly
out
with
there.
earbuds, because they're so comfortable, right?
I still go back to my British roots, and I listen to the BBC a lot. So
Really?
yes, I listen to BBC World News. I listen to a lot of Radio 4 podcasts as well.
Oh, wow.
I can't believe it. I used to be a Radio 1 girl, but I'm a Radio 4.
Terry Wogan was Radio 1, right? Back then, we're going that far back.
Thanks, Steve. From our own correspondent, which I love, from Radio 4. I love Thinking Aloud from Radio 4.
You said to me before you always wanted to be a foreign correspondent.
Yes, I
so,
did.
Yeah, I understand that.
So that's where I get my news from. The BBC, Al Jazeera and The Economist. I probably get a lot of my news, and I probably listen to them daily in the morning.
Is that walking in the car? Or?
Yeah, walking in the car.
Yeah.
And then from a kind of tech perspective, I have been listening to Wild Hearts.
I don't know that one.
Blackbird have released a series,
have they?
and it's very good. Yeah, about founders and investors. I think
I would
you'd
love
really
this.
like it.
Wild Heart.
Yes.
And is it the Blackbird boys doing it, or have they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's a Blackbird team. Mason from
Yeah. I know
Blackbird
Mason.
team.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the host. So I've been listening to that. I think you're speaking to the Eucalyptus boys.
I am. They are on later today, actually. Both Benny and Alexi are coming in.
So Tim did one of the first, I think.
Apparently Tim's done too many podcasts and the other two wanted to get involved. So we've got Alexi and Benny, and Tim's been sidelined and put on the bench this
Well, I
time.
listened to one of Tim's podcast on Wild Hearts, which is an awesome one. And then for a bit of fun, I like this. It's called The Wheel of Misfortune. And I'm going to caveat it. It's got lots of swearing in it. It's a Scottish girl.
I was going to say, is it Scottish?
It's a Scottish girl and an Irish girl who talk about their own misfortunes and make it fun and make it less of a hang up to go through misfortune, and they get other people to tell their misfortune and they laugh about it a lot, and it just appeals to my sense of humour.
I might check that one out if I can. Can you understand it? Have the accents? Have we got a Glaswegian and a Northern Islander in there? Or?
No, it's a Southern Islander.
Okay, I can cope with that.
No, Fern Brady, I think she's from Bathgate, so she's from the East Coast, so the opposite side of Scotland from me. But she has a really strong accent.
Okay, I might give that a go.
I think you should.
That's good. And any books? Are you reading any terrible books at the moment, or have you read any books that you've loved, or are you more of a listener?
I love terrible books. I have a terrible book collection at the side of my bed. I will caveat that. I read well in that I read Twitter, I read The Economist, and I read proper news. You know, I read the Fin Review every day. So I do read, and I'm reading a book called Whatever You Think the Opposite. So
Yep.
my founder, Ben, who looks after product, he is a challenger of ideas. Whenever anyone says anything, he will immediately challenge it. And I love it. He brings a different perspective.
Exhausting, but
It can
good.
be exhausting. It can be exhausting, but this book typifies his thinking around whatever you are thinking, you have to think the opposite to know that you're on the right track. So
That's good. I like that too.
it's a good book.
Okay. All right. Final question, and this is what it's all about. So partly this platform was to showcase companies, and it was really to give you an opportunity to tell people out there who are thinking of moving roles or are looking for a new role, why they might want to consider Vamp and why it's a place they should come and work. So if you were pitching to me, tell me why should I come and work at Vamp?
Well, I'll start by saying we've got lots of different people who can work with Vamp. So it's not just all about being an employee of Vamp. So obviously we've got a huge creator network.
Of course.
So if you're a photographer, if you're a videographer, if you create content, then you can be part of the Vamp family.
Yep.
So we've got, 30,000 creators on the platform. Yeah, a
30,000.
huge number of platforms. Creators. Every creator is vetted to join the Vamp platform, so you have to produce awesome content. That's what makes us different from a lot of influencer and marketing platforms out there, because our sole focus is in the quality of the content rather than the reach of that content, the influencer's audience base. So we have opportunities for creators to connect to the best brands in the world. So the Adobes, Samsung, Huawei's, Estee Lauder, amazing brands. You can be a creator in Mexico City and work with Adobe.
Is there one country where the best creators are, or is it completely dispersed? Or are you going to upset someone if you say this?
I know. Well, during COVID, the content out of France and Germany was amazing.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
I can't even think of a reason why that
Because
would
they're
be.
very different countries as well.
Well, they are.
They created amazing content. But, I mean, every country that we see, all the content creators that we have on the platform do generate amazing content. So that's a reason for creators to work with us. They get the best brands in the world to work with. We've also got a VIP network, so the Vamp Independent Partner Program. So people who have small agencies or they work for themselves can be part of our partner program. So that way they work with our sales team to refer and use their extensive network to work with Vamp to get the Vamp platform into other businesses.
Yep.
So they can add Vamp to their kind of tool set for the offering that they give to their clients. And then there's obviously come to work for Vamp as an employee, and we're currently looking for a head of growth because we have amazing product market fit with our platform, and we want to pour fuel on the fire and bring in somebody who can work with us and do that already. So, but why would they want to come and work at Vamp? I think two reasons. I'd say one, the people. Yep. I said earlier, they're just the most authentic group of people I think I've ever worked with.
Well, that's pretty.
And they've shown during COVID the strength that they have, and the results that they've achieved during COVID have amazed me and humbled me. And the second is the potential that the business has got. I said earlier again, we've had our best 2 quarters during COVID, and we're only getting stronger and growing. And the network of clients that we have is growing. The brands that we have on the platform is growing. The creator network is growing. So it's all about coming in and working with us and help us grow the business even more.
Fantastic. Awesome. Gillian, thank you so much for coming on. It's so good to see you again. I haven't seen you that much.
I know.
I haven't seen anybody.
I haven't seen anyone.
And I'm so glad that Vamp is everything that you wanted to be, because I know you took that decision of where to go very seriously. So it's so good to see you just one enjoying it, but two just killing it as well. So
it was hard. It was hard work. I think the last 18 months has been the hardest thing I've ever done, but also I've learned
like that. I know you do.
So much, and as we said earlier, this should be your best time, and if it's not your best time, then you should change it.
Absolutely, I love that line. I love that line. All right, thank you very much.